From the station that's on your side, you're watching News 19 at 11.
And good evening now. Thanks for being with us. I'm J.R. Berry.
And I'm Andrea Mock. Over the weekend, thousands of students moved back onto USC's campus, getting ready for the start of their new school year.
But the campus looked totally different some 50 years ago, having no students of color enrolled until September of '63. News 19 Stephen Dial spoke with one of the three students who desegregated the university and has more tonight.
Being black and living in the South at that time was not easy. It's amazing how much things have changed.
Before 1963, the thought of a black student being enrolled at the University of South Carolina was just that, a thought. But for three students, they made it a reality.
I'm a citizen of South Carolina. My folks pay taxes just like everybody else. This is a public university. I ought to be able to attend.
50 years ago, James Solomon, along with Andre Treadwell and Robert Anderson, walked into the admissions office of USC and registered to be students, making them the first black students to desegregate the university. Treadwell and Anderson enrolled as undergraduate students, and Solomon enrolled to pursue his PhD in mathematics. Surprisingly, he says there were no large crowds or angry mobs.
The only students that we saw were the ones that were hanging in the windows when we were conducting the press conference.
As a man who was in the Air Force during desegregation, Solomon felt prepared for any type of racial obstacles that stood his way. He remembers going to eat lunch at the Russell House and hearing people talk about them just about every day.
The racial slurs coming from people who were standing behind the shades and the half-open windows, never face to face, never where you could see anybody, okay? So what I said to Robert was, these folks are all cowards, because if they weren't cowards, they'd say these things to our face. So that's the way it was on that first day and thereafter.
Now, 50 years later, whenever Solomon comes to the university, it makes him feel good to see a diverse campus.
Dr. Pastides was just telling me that 20% of the enrollment at the university now are black students, and I think that that's tremendous.
Knowing how ugly it could get for most universities to desegregate, he applauds how USC handled theirs.
There was no violence. I mean, there was some nasty talk, but there was no violence, and I think that speaks well for this state and for its leaders.
In Columbia, Stephen Dial, News 19 WLTX.
Well, Solomon, who will be 83 on Saturday, will join Henry Treadwell, the only other living student at USC, on September 11th, the day they enrolled at the university 50 years ago, for several programs and events.